Game on in the background.
I do not have the game on in the background, but I am going to be following it, hopefully via Scott's help and the chat's
I
help as
got it.
well.
I got it.
And your help too, if you're watching it. But welcome in, guys. Welcome in. It is Saturday. It is 4 o'clock where I am, 5 o'clock where most of you probably are. And it is January 15th. Saturday means it's time for an episode of Mile High Insiders. Luke, how you doing, big guy? How's your Saturday treating you?
Oh man, I am just peachy. You know why, Nick? There is
yeah.
a newfound optimism in Broncos country, and it is because Vic Fangio is out of here. Last Saturday, we were wondering, thinking the worst. What could happen if he came back? I know you felt pretty strongly he was gonna be gone. I was worried, definitely. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling confident. We've got three head coach candidates already interviewed. A big one today we got to get to. But man, it feels like the offseason is already beginning fast and furious.
Offseason is fast and furious. Coaching search underway. Broncos offense or offseason going to get a new owner, new quarterback coming in here. Mike Kliss did make me scared a little bit yesterday, saying that Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson are A1, A2, A and B. Then followed after that is like, if the Broncos can't get them, Kirk Cousins or Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, oh my God, Kliss, don't say that, especially Jimmy G. I am not a Jimmy Garoppolo guy.
Neither am I, but I will tell
G.
you this. I have a friend that reached out to Minnesota who made it sound like Kirk Cousins is going to stay put. So we might hear some chatter, but I think the Vikings want to hang on to at least their franchise quarterback in the wake of Spielman getting shown the door in Minnesota as well. So I'm with you. I don't want any of the retreads. I just want Super Bowl winning quarterbacks.
Joe Flacco, come on down, baby. Let's do it. Luke's ready to ride again. No, welcome in, guys. Mile High Insiders. You can follow Luke and I on Twitter. Luke is at Luke Patterson LP, and I'm at Nick Kendell MHH. And this is Mile High Insiders, part of Mile High Huddle and the Huddle Up Podcast Network. Today we got a number of things to talk about, but we want to say hello to some people in here first. We got Todd saying hello, Broncos country. Good to see you.
Todd was the first one in, man. Todd, I appreciate that. Todd was waiting for about a half hour. Appreciate you, Todd.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Todd. We got KB82 saying, what's up, fellas? Did you guys watch the college national championship game? If so, what are your thoughts on pairing James Cook with Javonte? I would take James Cook if he falls to round 4, but I think he's going to go somewhere. I think he's going to go round 3, probably. If a good running back falls to you there, I'm not taking a running back round 2 this year. God, who are we going to start at right tackle? Calvin Anderson with this restricted free agent. I mean, they got other fish to fry rather than spending another top 50 pick on the running back position. But you never know. I'd rather than bring back Gordon, honestly. I know that maybe that'll cause some feathers to be ruffled, but I don't want to spend a premium resource again on the running back position.
Yeah, that's a good question, KB. Absolutely love it. What an exciting game, right?
Yeah.
I mean, my mom was talking to me about the college football championship, and she loves Bronco football, but when random folks and your casual football watchers just like, man, what a treat that game was, it really gets your attention. So I would love it. Absolutely. I don't think the Broncos are going to go there. I think some team is going to probably fall in love with him. I think 3 is fair. Don't be surprised, maybe late 2, early 3. We'll sit there and let it breathe. But let's also say hi to Jay. Jay's a good friend of the show, coming in with a quick comment. George Paton really does have to get his head coach right, even though he has 5 years left on his contract. Nothing is for sure with new ownership coming in. And of course, Jay is referencing the recent news as it relates to Broncos ownership and the trust that the Kaiser versus the trust / Broncos. That's done. The right of first refusal, it's been squashed. So all things moving forward appear to indicate that the Broncos are going to be for sale as early as the spring of 2022, maybe even the summer.
Yep. Thank God. Ready for that dark cloud to move over, and maybe Broncos can get a new stadium, build Bronco land around them. Who knows? But hopefully, with the ownership coming, that can just remove all that dark cloud and move forward with this team. We got Bobby's Robbies coming in here. What's up, Broncos country? Good to see you, Bobby's Robbies. We got Jetty Splash is also in the house. For some reason, it's not letting me click.
Hey,
there
Jetty.
we go. Hello, everyone. Hopefully, I'm not freezing here. We got Jamal Killings coming in. Sup, Broncos country. Good to see you. DBA's in the house.
Sup, Jamal. DBA. Yo, I got some shout outs I got to give too.
Let's do it.
My guy, Zach Manukin, my boy Gage Let's see. Gage Madrid, Dave Glassman, Rock Chalk Broncos, CG Orange Crush, Ashley Watson, G Pops 59, and as always, our guy Stu McPeak. I've been making a list, man, and checking it twice, just like Santa late after Christmas. But all these folks take care of us on Twitter, reading our articles, watching our pods. It's important that we give everybody shout outs, including Kathy. Our guys David Crespin is in the house as well. Rusty Fasanino is coming in. Jeff Noyes. And this thing is going, man. Got a lot of folks. Andy Schrant is in the house on MHI Saturday evening on Wild Card Weekend. He is Nick Kendell. I am Luke Patterson. Away we go, Broncos country. This is MHI, and we have got a lot of things to get to. But first, should we drop a quick plug?
We got to drop something in here. We got to drop something in here, guys. Cheers to 2020 and resolutions you can actually keep. How about having clean and shiny balls all year round? Our sponsors at Manscaped are here to save your balls this year and make the ball drop into 2020 the cleanest and sexiest of all time. Set your first New Year's resolution with good intentions and join the 4 million men worldwide who have trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer. Go to manscaped.com and use promo code MHH for 20% off and free shipping. I really like the crop mop. You guys know I am, my wife can attest to, I can get a little bit smelly in the backcountry hiking. I'm definitely a sweaty kind of guy. And if you're going to be backpacking or anything like that, you don't want to go to bed with your manhood smelling kind of funky, especially in your sleeping bag and tent. Not about that. So crop mop, always take it with me into the backcountry. Also, guys, it's the new year, new me with the global leaders in below the waist grooming. This year, take your package to the next level with their Performance Package 4.0 and the brand new Ultra Premium Body Wash. Inside the Performance Package 4.0, you'll find the Signature Lawnmower 4.0, which is their the best product they have, in my opinion. This electric trimmer is designed to trim hair on loose skin. The advanced SkinScape technology reduces cuts and nicks on your delicate nuts. And it also comes equipped with a 4000K LED spotlight that will shine a light to the promised land in 2022.
That's right, Nick. I'm a big fan of the crop mops as well. I do a lot of traveling, particularly in the scouting season, but the cologne. I also like the cologne. You and I have talked about it last year. I think both of our wives liked the cologne as well. Guys, Manscaped has got you covered with so many different products. They're more than just a shaving company or a grooming company, but it's the new year. With that comes the new me with the global leaders in below the waist trimming. This year, take your package to the next level with their Performance Package 4.0 and that brand new Ultra Premium Body Wash. Guys, kick discomfort and poor hygiene to the curb. Get out of here. Use the best tools for the job. Whether your resolution is to work out more, travel to new places, be sure to travel to manscaped.com for our exclusive offer of 20% off plus free shipping with the code MHH. Cheers to new balls in 2022. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code MHH at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com using that code MHH. It's a new year, new pubes, no pubes in 2022
no pubes. Come on, get it
with
right.
Manscaped. Well, you know what, man? I'm just going to say it's about grooming. It's not about just, scorching the earth. So be careful, fellas, but Manscaped has got your back.
Yeah, when Valentine's around the corner, this isn't just a shout out to the men out there; it's to the women too. We got Quentin Thomas coming in right off the ball read, with these stars. Thank you so much, Quentin.
Thanks, man.
God bless you, man. Yeah, thank you so much. We also got a bunch of support in here. Dave Glassman's in the house. Travis Weber's in the house. Let's just pull up Travis here to get the ball rolling, because another ball read. The ball rolling here with Travis Weber, because he's always coming in, giving us stars, giving us super chats. Good afternoon, evening, Luke, Nick, and Broncos country. Hey, Nick, the latest mocks on CBS have Denver taking Dean. I know Hackett interviewed, but is Quinn the favorite at the moment to be named head coach? The Broncos are going to have a lot of mocks from here on out, and the Broncos picking at about 9. Luckily for the Broncos, outside of quarterback, there's a lot of directions they could go. So best player available, if that's Dean at 9, I get it. I don't really think he is a linebacker worthy of a top 10 pick. Like, he needs to reach that Luke Kuechly, Devin White level of talent to be considered for that. And I don't see that with Nakobe Dean at 6 foot, 220 pounds. But, we'll see how it plays out. Scheme is going to be really important here. As far as the Hackett interview, it does sound like everything is pointing towards Quinn. Quinn and Peyton are boys. I don't really have a strong preference on the head coach either way, but I think that if Quinn doesn't get it, I will be majorly shocked.
Quinn is definitely the odds-on favorite, Travis. As you know, the wise guys in Vegas all know that. And they released those odds pretty early, I think, even this week. Obviously, Dan Quinn will be interviewed next week, with just kind of the way the playoffs and the seeding, all those things are following NFL protocol in terms of the Broncos having to reach out, request an appropriate time, obviously, for these coaches to interview as well. Now, Dan Quinn, I think, is a solid head coaching candidate for the Broncos. I would be very happy with Dan Quinn. I'm not talking about Dan Quinn. We know he's the favorite. We know he's boys with Peyton. Today, the news is about Nathaniel Hackett, who spent the whole day with George Peyton and company. And I can't wait to start hearing what trickled out of it, if we hear anything. George Peyton keeps a very locked down building. I respect that a lot, but it makes you kind of wonder, in what direction is George Peyton going to jump? I know that Nathaniel Hackett, rather, is definitely energetic and charismatic in his own right, in his own style. I would imagine he presented a ton of his own energy in what was a long interview process today.
Yeah, he seems like a fun dude, no doubt about it. A lot of energy, a lot of positivity. I'm sure that he did well on his interview. Who knows? But obviously with Hackett coming over, he did fine with the Jags offense when they had that blip season. Obviously, we don't have a franchise quarterback. Your year-to-year offensive output is going to fluctuate greatly. But he did make Bortles look like a competent young quarterback, so he gets a feather in his cap for that. And I also really like what they're doing schematically over there in Green Bay. Now, it is the Matt LaFleur system led by Aaron Rodgers, which is not going to be replicated one for one. We can't copy paste what's going on in Green Bay and make it exactly the same in Denver, because things will change. And obviously the biggest thing is the quarterback changing. But I like what they're doing. I think they're on the forefront of offensive innovation. They're doing a lot of RPO kind of stuff over there in Green Bay this season, with a backside tag that not many teams have been using. So I think it would be fun to bring Hackett in here. And I think it would give the Broncos some an offensive leg up schematically that they haven't had since, Peyton Manning was here. Maybe that's as far back as it's been since the Broncos have been more on the cutting edge of what's going on offensively in the NFL.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I like Nathaniel Hackett a lot. He's been growing on me in the last few days. I'm very close to naming Nathaniel Hackett as my favorite. Right now, it's Dan Quinn. With Nathaniel Hackett, I think you'd see Luke Getsy come over, the quarterback's coach, and probably be promoted to the offensive coordinator. That makes the most logical sense. And with that, I would hope Aaron Rodgers. Those links are already being connected for obvious reasons, but until it happens, right, Green Bay has to make that deal happen. So we all kind of felt hosed, if you will, last summer, because something fell apart with Green Bay and the Broncos, and we're hoping that doesn't happen this year. It feels like George Payton's been gearing up. Speaking of gearing up, our guy Daniel Elmore is always gearing up and taking care of us. Nick and Luke here on MHI on Saturday. Scott on the ones and twos. And my guy, here's another one of my guys, Jason Bolin with a $5 super. Really appreciate you. Jason is a huge fan of MHH, a huge member of Broncos country. I got to meet Jason and his two sons last summer at training camp. They made the road trip all the way up from where I think it was the Dakotas, man. So these cats drive and they love their Broncos. Jason's weighing in. It feels different. Normally I have favorites. This year I don't care, as long as George Payton is picking the guy. I have 100% faith in this man. And Nick, this is a sentiment, I feel like, a sentiment rather, that's coming out of Broncos country, that they're okay with George Payton getting a rapid start to the head coaching process.
Yeah, people we're still in the honeymoon phase with George Payton. There's no doubt about it. Last season he said and done all the right things. He's coming off of what was the second highest graded draft class according to Pro Football Focus, only behind the Kansas City Chiefs. And shout out there to Scott's channel, working the ones and twos in the background.
I know. And Scott's so kind and so humble that I had to flash it up there before he gets mad at me, and starts giving me sign language behind the scenes. No, I hear you, man. I think there's tons of optimism, right? You're tracking it, you're writing. I'm not sure. Did your article pub yet? And we got to plug that too. Yep. All right. We got to get on over to milehighhuddle.com, see what Nick's been working. Nick is just like me. We are football junkies. The off season means it's a full season for both of us here. But yeah, just to wrap up that comment on George Payton before we get over to your article too, I wanted to talk about that. George Payton was so hard to just stay up to date with his news this week. Right when you think you've got, okay, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, we're up to 10 candidates. I mean, holy cow, this is just it's fast and it's furious. You've got to love it. They've obviously already interviewed Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions. They got Luke Getsy, quarterback coach of the Packers. I believe that was yesterday. And then today, Nathaniel Hackett, and away we go.
Yeah, away we go. Garrett Ringy coming in here. Garrett also giving us the plug on the ball read earlier, saying the Lawnmower 4.0 was one of his favorites. So shout out to you, Garrett. At least think it was you, Garrett, with the super sticker here. Thanks so much
Thank
for
you.
supporting us, Garrett. We appreciate you.
I imagine Garrett is a fan of Garrett Bowles. I think Garrett's a cool name. It's a very masculine name. I like Garrett. I like GB. I hope you are in the Garrett zone as well. Miguel is also weighing in. What's up, fellas? I hope you had a great week. If Denver hires Nathaniel Hackett, do you think he brings in Luke Getsy as offensive coordinator? P.S. Bengals and Bills fan tonight. Miguel, absolutely love it. I love the energy you're coming in there. Yeah, I obviously agree with you. I said it just a second ago. I think Nathaniel Hackett would bring Luke Getsy over. Luke Getsy was actually, I think he's one of the longest tenured coaches over there with the Green Bay Packers. He was actually left over from Mike McCarthy's staff. And obviously he left for a little bit and came back. I don't know that he's an offensive genius, but he knows what Aaron Rodgers likes, and Aaron Rodgers obviously is very fond of him and wanted to keep him around. That speaks volumes when you have a Super Bowl winning coach or a Super Bowl winning quarterback talking and giving praise to coaches that they like, especially if they're young, they're up and comers, and they're putting in the time and truly earning the position.
Yeah, it's hard to judge the coaches, though, because it's unlike, I can tell you if Drew Lock made a bad throw based on the tape, or if Teddy Bridgewater left a read out there that he shouldn't have. But it's really hard to say. I'm not able to view the tape and say that, I wish Vic Fangio would have emphasized this point to Pat Shurmur this season or this week in the meetings. That's stuff that you're going off hearsay there or your gut feeling. So personally, for the quarterback or the head coaching position, I'm going to let it play out and hope for the best, and we'll evaluate it as it comes along, as the season goes. But right now, there's just so many candidates, and you don't know exactly what these guys' gigs are. I think if anybody we have knowledge on, it's Dan Quinn. And while it didn't work out the best for him in Atlanta, it does seem like his players loved him. It does seem like he has been versatile and flexible with what he emphasizes schematically and personnel-wise, and he's been good at finding good coaches around him. I mean, a lot of the guys that he's promoted and been in higher positions are in better positions or still kicking around the league. It's not like hiring Rich Scangarello, who then goes crawling back to Kyle Shanahan as the quarterback coach kind of situation there with a dud offensive coordinator hire. So that I think that's for Quinn, at least we have that going. Maybe it's not the best in the world, but feels very John Foxy. It might not be the final destination, but it's a step in building the program and stabilizing things when things have not been stable in Denver for a bit.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair comparison. I think Dan Quinn's got a different energy, just like John Fox did as well. He's not a Pete. Yeah. He's more of the Pete Carroll energy, right? I've heard him referred to as like a bumper sticker slogan coach, and that's fine. Some of these guys totally buy into it. I've talked to a couple players that have played for him throughout their career and are no longer in the league, but they absolutely rave about him. This is a league based on loyalty. It's about who you know. Really in life. This goes beyond the NFL. This is just worldly knowledge that we're spitting here on MHI. But I like Dan Quinn. I think he could build a culture, which is something the Broncos don't have. That is huge. You have to consider that. That is a huge pro. Now, I'm not so sure Nathaniel Hackett, while I like him as a coach, I like his personality. I like his pedigree. I like that he's 42 years old. He's still a young man in his own right. I like his experience. I like where he comes from with his dad, Paul Hackett. I like it a lot, but I don't know all that much about his personality. I don't know if he's a leader of men, things that you want in a head coach. So you really have to weigh your pros and your cons. And Tyler's been patient weighing in on MHI with something he wants to say, drop some knowledge with the NFL draft. Tyler, we appreciate you. No, I want Denver to take Devin Lloyd. Devin Lloyd is my favorite player in the draft, and I watched him at every Utah game this year. Holy cow. Yeah, Devin Lloyd, Nick.
Yeah, he's really fun. He reminds me a lot of Fred Warner coming out. The movement skills, the flexibility in the hips, kind of like in his drop zones, literally looking like a safety. So I do like Devin Lloyd a lot. He's not going to end up in the top 10 for me in this draft class, but if the Broncos are trading down into that 15 to 25 range, if Nakobe Dean or Devin Lloyd are there, sign me up. I think that's about the area where I'm looking at those kind of guys. There is not a Micah Parsons level height, weight, speed athlete in this class. There's not a Luke Kuechly where he's like just moving differently than any other player on the field like he was back at Boston College kind of player, but that's okay. This draft class in general is not as talented at the top as last season. But right now, I don't think I would have either of those guys penciled in for me at 9. There are a number of other options that I would be more interested in at this point in time.
Yeah, but at the same time, I appreciate the process. I appreciate the thoroughness. You've got to know that George Paton has been compiling this list for some time, and as done as Broncos country was with Vic Fangio and Pat Shurmur and Tom McMahon and just the stale coaching staff, George Paton, I think, wanted to do the right thing in severing ties with Vic Fangio. He wanted to do it in a classy way. He wanted to do it to where the Broncos could hold their head up high. Vic Fangio could hold his head up high. I know that Patrick Smythe has a ton to do with that, but so does George Paton. And I think some credit is definitely deserved there because George Paton's trying to win back the NFL in a sense. He's trying to win back. Hey, we do things that we're going to do things the right way here in Denver. Schedule us for more primetime games. We are getting talent in Denver, exciting talent that has got the country, NFL Network buzzing in Quinn Miners and Javonte Williams. You got Pat Surtain, who looks amazing. Jonathan Cooper is very impressive. I mean, we go on and we go on and we go on, but George Paton is off to a good start. So I think that's why Broncos country is ultimately feeling good about him at spearheading this search rather. But our good friend Kathy Lund is weighing in. Thank you, Kathy. We appreciate you joining MHI. Part of being a great head coach is having that kick butt tree. Now, I assume Kathy's talking about the coaching tree and a little bit of that kick butt mentality as well. This is about where do these guys come from? And Nathaniel Hackett has been basically attached to Doug Marrone for a lot of his NFL career, going back to the Buffalo Bills, the Jacksonville Jaguars. But Nathaniel Hackett, son of Paul Hackett, he was a USC head coach and bounced around in college and the NFL. He actually has a Super Bowl ring. I didn't know that until I started to look into it. 1984 with the San Francisco 49ers, where he was with the quarterbacks, the wide receivers, and the tight ends. So he comes from good stock, if you will. He has definitely earned his experience as well. UC Davis, where he is an alum, Stanford and Syracuse, various offensive positions. So he's got some experience. Now he broke into the league, Nick, as you know, with the Tampa Bay Bucks. And then from there, the Bills, the Jags, and now he's with the Packers. But he has definitely put in the time. And a lot of people feel that the NFL is just waiting for Nathaniel Hackett to get a shot.
I mean, him and Hackett and Quinn have been almost hired by every single team so far, right? Or there's a quarter of the league has openings, and both those guys seem to be the most interviewed candidates. So we'll see what happens here.
To your point, before we get to Travis, I mean, so Nathaniel Hackett was the third candidate the Broncos interviewed today with George Paton, but the Bears and the Jaguars are also interviewing Nathaniel Hackett this weekend, more than likely tomorrow. They're splitting the day, or rather the day after, maybe Monday. They're including Martin Luther King weekend, obviously with Monday coming up, but they're interviewing. And then I saw the Minnesota Vikings in a report are also interested in interviewing Nathaniel Hackett. So they got rid of Mike Zimmer. I would also be interested. So if I wanted Nathaniel Hackett, Luke Getsy, and then maybe Mike Zimmer as my defensive coordinator, I'll be all right with that.
The comments about Mike Zimmer and from Eric Kendricks kind of running with an iron fist and terror in that locker room kind of gave me a little bit of a back off a bit with Mike Zimmer, because I do respect him as a defensive coordinator, but I do wonder if going from Hardo, I'm just purely a football guy, Vic Fangio, to back to that same kind of guy who's had worse results recently in Mike Zimmer just scares me a bit. I don't know if how the defense would respond, doubling down on a guy who's probably doing less for a defense schematically than what Vic Fangio has done historically over the last 5-ish years.
Well, that's a good point. And I also read a report, and obviously you did too, that Rick Spielman and him did not, they hadn't talked for weeks, and that's never good. Now they're both out of a job. So I hear you. There's definitely a vetting process there. And Scott, if we could go back and grab Travis real quick, that'd be great. Muhammad Badri, our guy. Mo, what is up? A $5 super. We appreciate you so much. Braun and the Smooth Killer are in the building. on a Saturday night wild card weekend. We appreciate you so much, Mo. Hope you and baby Malik are doing beautifully.
Yeah, the offensive coordinator for Quinn for me, I would be interested in any of the lower down guys that they've hired for the position that could come over. That includes Getsy being the pass game coordinator. He was also in charge of third down passing for the Packers this last year. I think I've read that, which is an area the Broncos struggled this year. Broncos DVOA on third down passing is actually not bad. I would argue that it was they constantly setting themselves in bad positions on first and second down to have unwinnable third down situations, but that's in a totally different conversation.
Sure.
He makes, yeah, gosh, and just execution. But another one is like O'Connell. I'd be interested in him coming over. I don't know what the specifics there. I think if you're the offensive coordinator, but you don't run the offensive team meetings, you can leave for a new position. I think that's maybe the specifics of it. So O'Connell, I don't think he runs the offensive meetings like McVay does, who calls the offense and does that. Same with Mike McDaniel, who has been getting a lot of play recently. Denver native, considered probably Kyle Shanahan's right-hand man over on the offense over there for the 49ers, run game coordinator and offensive coordinator for a number of years, and has experience with Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn knows Mike McDaniel for the time that they were together in Atlanta. So it's a relationship league.
And to your point, Dan Quinn likes that West Coast system. I mean, he's a fan of it as a defensive guy, but I think with Dan Quinn, you're getting a head coach overall. You're not getting a guy who's not sure what he's getting into. And speaking of Dan Quinn, Travis has been waiting patiently. We love you, brother. Thank you for joining MHI, one of our guys. Say Dan Quinn or Nathaniel Hackett does get named head coach, either one. Who do you see or like for offensive coordinator for Quinn or defensive coordinator for Hackett? And Travis is weighing right into the conversation. So for Hackett, Luke Getsy, I'm curious. Obviously, I think that's a connection there with Aaron Rodgers that we would hope for. And you get the triple crown, if you will, and your ideal choices or Aaron's ideal choices. But you've got to be okay with the head coach before this quarterback thing can go down. I don't think George Paton is going to go foolishly and blind into this and running off the cliff with who he wants, which is Aaron Rodgers. Pure speculation. It's not like I'm hearing anything, but we're all connecting the dots there. Now, another name, Brian Callahan. Really curious with the way he's been calling the offensive game, well, co-calling, if you will, with Zach Taylor at the Cincinnati Bengals, which the game is going on right now. Looks like, what is that, 28 or 26? My eyes are bad.
26-16. There's 5 minutes left. Raiders have the ball on 4th and 5.
So I've been watching his play calling all game, thinking about it, and son, right, of legendary Coach Callahan, who spent some time with the San Francisco 49ers, if I'm not mistaken.
Head coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers for a couple of years too.
And it's for knowledge. We love it. But Coach Callahan is definitely dropped all over the place, man. So he comes from good stock as well, but he's a young up and comer. So I think that's another name we've got to look out for. But either way, you have got to be excited. And speaking of excitement, we are talking about Broncos offseason, which is definitely kicked off. I know Wild Card Weekend is fun. It's exciting. We're going to get you guys to the Bills and the Pats, which is why we started this show a little bit earlier, because we know Broncos country loves their playoff football. Our guy, Beto Garcia Maltos, is coming in with a $5 super. Hey, guys, if Dan Quinn gets the job, who will be calling plays for the offensive coordinator position? Darrell Bevel or someone else? Now, before I turn this over to Nick, I will say this and preface this, Broncos country, as we're connecting the dots and possibly piecing other candidates into the Broncos assistant coaching tree, I don't think lateral transfers are very probable. You have got to make these guys feel wanted, and that has to come with money or promotion. It can't be without either of those two things that you see guys with lateral moves, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, teams can block lateral moves. The thing that's weird about it, and the language is different, is if you have a head coach with play calling responsibility, then the lines, I think, get a little bit blurred. So for some of those head coaches that are calling the offenses, like 49ers, like the Packers, like the Bengals, who we're talking about, their offensive coordinators are a little bit more up for grabs in those offensive coordinator transfers than other teams. So we'll see what happens. I'm confident in George Paton. Now, I will say my guard goes a little bit up when Dan Quinn, since October, Dan Quinn has been the leader in the clubhouse as far as if Fangio is fired, who's replacing him. And they haven't even interviewed him yet. And it's still everybody's sounding the alarm that Dan Quinn is coming to Denver next season. That kind of scares me, because that means I feel like the process might be a little bit cheated in a sense, where if you go in looking to have closed-minded, I guess is the way. If you go in looking to have your choice already made, you're going to have your choice made. You're going to see all the positives and negatives, and you might miss something, or you might be zeroed in on something. And I just think back to Vance Joseph when the Broncos hired him. LA interviewed him, I believe, when they hired Gary Kubiak that cycle and then they wanted to bring Vance Joseph over for defensive coordinator. Bengals blocked it. They brought in Wade Phillips. Rest is history there. But that interview made a big impression. And Elway went into that cycle of interviews thinking Vance Joseph's my guy. I'm going to Vance Joseph, interviewed him. Don't need to do any more. We're just wasting time interviewing these other guys because I want Vance. So that scares me. I think that's not the best process. And I think that's a little bit of cronyism as well. Now, Peyton, I think, gets the benefit of the doubt because it's just been 1 year. But if you're just hiring your buddies into these positions and you already have your decision made going into this expansive list of interviews, then there's a little bit of reason for skepticism. Just from me, I think he'll make the right call, but I'm just a little bit trepidatious with the process of how it's playing out.
And I think, to John Elway's credit, to your point, that's why he hired George Paton. Yeah. I think that's why he's handing the torch literally over to George Paton. He knows that George Paton can make decisions and he can't. And that's something that a good leader does. John Elway has been reported to be interested in owning the Denver Broncos, being part of an ownership group, as well as Peyton Manning. So those are good qualities. I mean, I think that's something that's being missed. George Paton, and from all indications, is doing very well. John Elway should get a lot of credit for that as well. I know that things did not end probably the way he wanted them to end, as I know he's director of football operations right now, but it's just like George Paton is just trending up. It's buy for the George Paton stock, and a little NSYNC reference there, I guess.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. It felt like at times John Elway knew where he was going and was hell bent on getting there and did not vet all of his options. George Paton, I think, has an idea of where he wants to go. I think he's leaning one way, but if you've got a guy that comes into the interview process and blows you away, that could have happened today, Nick, with Nathaniel Hackett. It could have happened yesterday with Luke Getsy. It could have happened on Thursday with Aaron Glenn. I mean, George Paton can definitely change his mind. He's enforced a unit around him that includes director of player personnel, Darren Moogie, executive director of football ops, Kelly Klein, cap specialist, Rich Hurtado. Rich, a very good guy, always have been very good with me in any encounters. VP of player development, our guy Ray Jackson, who doesn't love Ray Jackson, and then Patrick Smythe, of course, Chiefs communication officer. So George Paton is loyal to his people. He is building even deeper relationships with his inner circle. And if you've got a guy that comes in and blows you away, that could change things too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You'd hope so. And maybe, heck, with interviewing 10 guys, I was hoping that they would interview even more people. I want
12's the max, I think.
12 is the max. Okay. I think they're interviewing 10. I would have loved to have seen them maybe even dip into the college ranks, not like a more of a serious interview, but just schematically wise. Like, I would love for them to bring in somebody like a Ryan Day. How the bleep do you get somebody open every single play when you have these 3 wide receivers that you want to feed? Because Lord knows we weren't seeing that with Sherman last year with all the mouths we had to feed in Denver. How are you doing that? I know Ohio State has a talent advantage, but still, that stuff interests me. How are you solving those problems? Somebody like Lincoln Riley, I don't even know if he's taken that interview given you just hired, but just getting some innovation in there. And that doesn't just have to be with the head coach. That can be also Paton learning how the game is trending and hopefully getting some ideas of what to look for and how to score more points. God, just point blank, how to score more points.
Well, yeah, something that the Broncos have got to do. I mean, they can't be 19 points in a game. No wonder they're losing all these football games, Nick. But yeah, you said it. I'm Brian Flores. I would have liked to see him get an interview, but he's probably going to be hired elsewhere. Gerard Mayo is the leading candidate for the Texans head coach gig, which I'm a little surprised about because I thought maybe Brian Flores would be there. But the Broncos have definitely reached out to Gerard Mayo. I'm not sure if they're going to be interviewing him next week or not, depending on how fast the Texans move. But it's a competitive market, and we will have to see what happens. But Travis, our guy weighing in, Travis Weber, appreciate you. Read an interesting interview that Mike McCarthy could be out in Dallas if they flop in the playoffs. Jerry Jones might just ruin things for Denver if that happens, with the talk that he covets both Dan Quinn, the offensive coordinator brain fart, Kellen Moore. No, I hear you, Travis. Those reports I've definitely heard as well in terms of how much he loves Dan Quinn and Kellen Moore. He will definitely let money talk if he loves you, and he will probably try to give those guys significant raises to keep one of them, I imagine, but that could be very hard to do if another team, which is a very competitive market in this league, pitches more money and love and affection to one of these guys. Now, I don't think Mike McCarthy is going to be out after just a couple years. I mean, it's too early for that. So keep an eye on Jerry, but head coaching money is a lot different than just offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator cash.
Yeah. No, totally. I'm in agreement with you there. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Kind of shifting the topic here. Obviously, we had the article that I just had come out. I think it might be one of the titles of the episode today. But the Broncos from Pro Football Focus. I know everyone can roll their eyes at the grades or whatnot, but there are some good things in here. You talk about trusting George Payton. That's all the good Paytons out here for Denver. The Broncos were created as the number 2 overall class from last year's 2021 draft class. Now, obviously, everybody wants to pump the brakes a little bit on that because your first year return on your draft class should not be the end all be all for what your draft class is. Let's talk 4 or 5 years down the line and seeing what these guys look like. I mean, remember, we are tripping over ourselves after 2019's class 1 year in. Oh my God, Drew Lock went 4-1 down the stretch. Dalton Reisner is going to be an all-pro. Noah Fant just barely scratching the surface. Royce Freeman looked very strong between the tackles, and then poof, that kind of goes up in smoke pretty darn quickly. Thanks, Dave, my favorite football nerd. Hey, there's a growing list of football nerds out here. There are dozens of us. Dozens.
Yeah,
No,
that's a compliment, man. Straight up. I'm a Star Wars nerd. I consider myself a football nerd, but no, Dave, you're right. Nick is he's a good guy. He's a good hard worker, and go to milehighhuddle.com where you can check out this article. Because Nick, real quick, I haven't had a chance to read who was number 1 if the Broncos were graded at number 2.
Everyone plug their nose. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs came in at number 1.
Creed Humphrey.
Creed Humphrey, major return on them. They didn't have a first. Also, they graded them on a curve a bit because they didn't have a first round pick. So they don't have the best ability to get the best draft class. But I think also maybe they gave him a bump for the Orlando Brown Jr. Obtaining him for that first round pick. But the Broncos were number 2. They were right behind the Chiefs, who also had Trey Smith, who was really good this season. I think a 6th round pick, had those lung blood clots that made him drop a bit. Would have been a top 100 player if not for that. And also Nick Bolton, who they drafted in the 2nd round as well, I believe, who was really good for them right off the gate. I mean, Chiefs have struggled at linebacker for years, and he came in and was a solid force for them.
Yeah, and you could see Nick Bolton and the Kansas City Chiefs take on and host the Pittsburgh Steelers. Did you see that Ben Roethlisberger interview, by the way? I mean, can't you see what good old Ben is doing? And he's such a drama queen, man. But respect to Ben Roethlisberger. I'm hoping for a good game. I was reading those interesting reports. I'm not sure if you saw it or maybe they were just tweets today about how the Chiefs really tried to lure Juju Smith-Schuster over to Kansas City, and he ultimately chose Pittsburgh for that 1-year deal. So it kind of makes you wonder too what's going to happen, because man, could you imagine Juju with the Chiefs too, as if they needed any more help at the wide receiver position?
No, they didn't. I remember I saw Big Ben live when I was really young. I think it was back in, what year was he drafted? Was it 2004? 2004. I saw him in 2003 when the Miami, Ohio played Iowa, which was a heck of a game. Seeing him live, I saw Big Ben playing for Miami, Ohio, and Josh.
How old were you? Yeah.
Oh my God, I would have been in middle school, maybe early
7th grade.
Yeah, 7th, 6th grade. So that was back then. I also saw Josh Allen playing for Wyoming when they came to Iowa. So I had some good quarterbacks come through seeing him live. It was fun.
I've seen Big Ben beat the Broncos up a little bit at the stadium here in Denver more times than I want to admit, and that damn terrible towel. I'm done with it. But yeah, the Steelers, man, they're Steelers Chiefs. I'm hoping for a good game there, but we will have to see. Broncos country, thank you guys for joining us on MHI. It's Saturday night. We're talking Nathaniel Hackett. We're talking the Broncos head coaching search. Let us know who you would like to see as the Broncos head coach, even if that does include offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator candidates as well. One thing for sure, George Payton is not wasting any time. But Kathy, I got to get to this one. I was sitting in the nosebleeds when Big Ben beat the Broncos, in the AFC Championship. I was at that game as well, Kathy.
2006.
Yeah, nosebleeds as well, man. And that was brutal. Absolutely brutal. I mean, Jake Plummer, man, that ended that magical ride with Jake and that really, really impressive Broncos team. And another moment where you wish Champ Bailey could have gotten another ring. That season, the Broncos had a ton of talent. So I'm with you, Kathy. That was a tough day for Broncos country.
Yeah, no, it was a tough day. I remember that Super Bowl well. Broncos maybe were playing with a little bit of house money at that point because everybody expected them to go into Indianapolis and get spanked by Peyton Manning like they had every single playoff, the years before that. And then there was that crazy play. I mean, Mike Vanderjagt. I've never seen Peyton look like he want to kill somebody like he looked like he wanted to kill Mike Vanderjagt in that playoff run.
That idiot kicker, I think, is what Peyton Manning called him in the post game, man. And who'd have thought then, if you could go back to young you, and I can go back to young me all those years ago, man, if we'd have known Peyton Manning was going to come to Denver and win the Super Bowl, take him to 2 Super Bowls, dominate the AFC West, lead one of the most prolific scoring offenses in NFL history, and ultimately ride off into the sunset with a Super Bowl a la John Elway. Just really, really impressive. Although they weren't back-to-back, obviously. Just now you're hearing Peyton Manning in ownership conversations. I mean, these things are crazy. How much the Broncos are beloved and respected. When Peyton Manning is interested, that gives Broncos country hope. You see it every day, Nick, just like I do on Twitter. It's a John versus Peyton thing in the ownership per se. I don't really feel that way. I think when you've got ownership groups, things are a little bit different than just 2 guys squaring off with money, because we're talking about a whole lot of money, a multi-billion-dollar deal that's going to come down the pikes for the Denver Broncos sale.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a big one. You just hope they get a good ownership situation squared away. And a little update on the Raiders-Bengals game. 2-minute warning is over. Raiders have no timeouts left, and they just got the ball on their own 35 after the Bengals punt. So it's going to come down to the wire here. The Raiders are down 26-19, so a 1-possession game. It'll be a lot of fun. Just a little love here from Gary Leeds Palmer. Gary, you send us a whole lot of love. We appreciate you.
Gary's our guy. What's up, Gary? Hope you have a blast on NFL Wild Card Weekend. Derek Carr, man, what a goof. Shout out to my guy B Stoke, who's always been saying all week, Raiders gonna Raider. They finally did it. Man, I wish the Chargers would have got in, because they'd have done a lot more than these damn Raiders. It's just started out as a decent game, but when you see the talent and the energy that the Bengals have, it's impressive, man. It makes them really hard not to root for.
Yeah, no, they're a fun squad. I'm really glad that Joe Burrow's not in the AFC West, but we had a roughing the passer here, so some fun. Raiders are pushing the ball quickly.
Oh, there he goes. First down at the 50. Brandon Jacobs. Flag. Was that
Josh
the roughing the passer?
Josh
Jacobs. My bad. This is what we do on MHI with the play-by-play before we get shut down by the FCC, more like the NFL, who hate that kind of stuff. So we'll get back on track. But obviously, we were talking a little draft, talking about Broncos head coaching candidates. Nick, let's say some of these playoff teams lose this weekend, including, let's say the Raiders come back right now and they win, and offensive coordinator, who is it? Brian Callahan for the Bengals is available. Or let's say the Cowboys lose tomorrow to the Niners and Dan Quinn, Kellen Moore become available. Do you think we could hear a very early announcement of head coach?
It's possible, but I don't think you're going to hear any announcement until after the Dan Quinn interview has come and gone. They're going to give Dan Quinn the interview, so we won't hear anything before that. And that means you probably want the Cowboys to lose this week versus the 49ers.
I don't, though. I don't see it that way. No,
if
Dan Quinn's defense is all that we say it is, and all that we hope it is, and I want to see him go. I want to see him go far. I want, dare I say, I want the Cowboys to do well. It's the first time I've ever felt that way. Because here's the thing. We know the offense is going to poop the bed, screw the pooch, whatever saying you want. They're going to do it. But the defense, Micah Parsons, I want to see something. Diggs, I want to see something. They got a ton of talent on that defensive side of the ball, and I don't want Dan Quinn to fall on his face if he's supposedly deserving as the guy to be head coach in Denver.
Yeah, I'm not going to put too much stock into one game versus the entire body of work that he's had. So 49ers are also a good team, and they're a different team. Because of how they run their offense, no other team is as good at creating gaps in other areas for the run game, and they can use Kyle Juszczyk and the likes of
Cal.
George Kittle. They're a fun and a hard team to watch. I'm really excited to see what they can do next year. Speaking of the 49ers, did you see, I know we teased about it earlier, the interview with Mike Kliss with, I think your guys, I think it was Stokely, as well as Stokely and Dan, I believe his name off the top of my head. I'm not a Denver native, so I don't know all the ones and twos.
Was it
of the
Zach?
people.
Was it Zach? My guy Zach By? Was it By?
I think it was Zach and Zach Taylor and Stokely. Anyway, Mike Kliss was on there saying, yes, plan 1 and plan 2 for the Broncos is Aaron Rodgers / Russell Wilson. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. But I don't know if you've seen it on Twitter. I've been trying to prepare people for the reality that is Broncos not being able to walk away with one of those two guys. What does that mean? What happens then? And unfortunately for the likes of Broncos country, Kliss said that the Broncos plan C and D, or 3 and 4, if you want to call it that, is the Broncos going and trading for a Kirk Cousins or a Jimmy Garoppolo. Personally, I think Kirk Cousins is a step up at the quarterback position than what you've had from Teddy Bridgewater. You go from a 18th to 12th best quarterback in the NFL at any given time to the 12th to the 8th best quarterback. I want no part of Jimmy Garoppolo, though. Jimmy Garoppolo does nothing for me. Hey, do you like Teddy Bridgewater? Do you want to pay 5 times as much for that? That's what Jimmy Garoppolo is for me.
I don't want Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't want Kirk Cousins either. I know Scott wants him. Scott's pining for him in the back, saying that he's a deserving quarterback. Yeah, no, I see him shaking his head back there. Scott wants Kirk Cousins, for the record, everybody. Make sure you edit that at the podcast, Scott. No, man, I hear you. That's a viable option. I mean, you know, all jokes aside, George Paton is loyal. He likes what he knows. I have no idea how he feels about Kirk Cousins. I'm still kind of curious to see if Spielman could be hired here in Denver in some sort of assistant or advisory role to George Paton. How weird would that be, right? The guy comes up under Spielman, gains a lot of new experiences, particularly in the front office, and now Spielman is out of a job. I think he's going to land somewhere also. I wouldn't mind to see him land maybe in Chicago, stay in the NFC and see what he could do there. I think the Bears need it, and they've got a quarterback that they put a lot of capital into in terms of draft stock last year with Justin Fields. So they need a new front management in Chicago. I'm curious to see where the head coaching jobs and everything go there as well. But Kirk Cousins, for me, man, I just can't do it. I really can't. He is a fantastic quarterback in the regular season. His playoff record, his wild, inconsistent play. I think at times he's a bit of an odd duck to his teammates. He just does not pass the confetti test for me.
Yeah, I agree with you too. He's kind of a weirdo, but he has been a competent quarterback. So did something fun happen for the Raiders? I know it's 4th down. We'll see what happens.
Your guys' feed is ahead of mine. I'm still at 3rd and goal here.
Okay, well, they don't score on 3rd and goal. But Peter coming in here saying, I'm not giving up a 1st rounder for Cousins. I agree with you. If it's only a 2nd rounder and the Broncos draft a rookie, then it's a good plan to see. I think that, George, if you put Kirk... Okay, here's a good question for you, Luke. Where do the Broncos end the season if they have Kirk Cousins on their roster? Where do they make the playoffs?
No, they don't.
You don't think they make the playoffs with Kirk Cousins this season?
No. Not at all, because you're telling me that that's going to excuse all of the head coaching blunders from Vic Fangio, all the fumbles from Melvin Gordon. This team is not just a couple wins away with Kirk Cousins. I'm sorry. I can't go there, man. I absolutely can't go there. I hear what you're saying. He is a much better option in theory than Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock. But just because he's a better option doesn't mean I want him here. I can't do it, man. I was never in on Kirk Cousins when him and our guy Mike Shanahan were supposedly setting up a reunion here in Denver and all that stuff. I'd have taken Mike, would not have taken Kirk, dude. I'm just not a Kirk Cousins guy. I'm sorry. I can't do it. He is a very good quarterback in the NFL. Respect. I don't want him in Denver. I want a great quarterback. I want a proven quarterback. And yeah, the Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson debate marches on. But one thing I just don't understand, I hear the age difference, right? That's something that is brought up all the time. Well, Aaron Rodgers is so much older than Russell Wilson. Aaron Rodgers had to sit for a little bit, guys, before he got the eventual nod and they kicked Brett out of the door. But you see these quarterbacks starting to play. I mean, Ben probably should have retired a few years ago. For what it's worth, this team is in the playoffs. They could probably thank Brandon Staley for that. But for me, man, it's hard to say who are we to judge when Kirk Cousins is definitely a better quarterback? He's not for me, Nick.
Yeah, I think the Broncos make the playoffs pretty easily with Kirk Cousins on this roster this season, given the season he had. He can actually, I mean, we complain about Jerry Jeudy's usage. Justin Jefferson has been incredible with Kirk Cousins out there. So I think that it would be much better here. But Kirk Cousins is kind of cornball. The issue with Kirk is not the play on the field, it's the play on the field to the dollar spent on him. He has a huge cap hit. He's not worth the cap hit. Doesn't make him not a solid top 12-ish quarterback in the NFL right now, but I totally agree. And congratulations, Cincinnati Bengals. Talking about that confetti test, Luke. Cincinnati Bengals winning their first playoff game since, I think I read it right, 1980. That can't be right?
Yeah, I thought it was.
That might not be right. Maybe first home
30,
playoff game.
I thought it was 31 years, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong, but man, that's Raiders. God, man, good for you, Raiders. Good for you. We're all cheering that in Broncos country. We'll be curious with that Steelers game tomorrow, but Joe Burrow, man, this guy is the real deal, and that is what you want in a quarterback. And I just think Joe Burrow is so far ahead of even Kirk Cousins in such his youth, the way he can analyze offenses or defenses rather. It's just super impressive to me, man. Anytime you're watching NFL football, and it's odd when you're having a good time watching the playoffs. I mean, you watch the Broncos games and it's not fun. It's not a good time. It was a good time for the 3-0 start, and which 75% of teams that start 3-0 are destined for the playoffs. And the Broncos screwed the pooch. But hopefully we can get off to a new start, and that starts with a new head coach. The Broncos have got to pick a face of the franchise, if you will, in the near future. I would say, 2 weeks, we'll know who the head coach is going to be.
Yeah, and it was 1990. So this is the first time in my lifetime. This is the first time in my lifetime I've seen a Bengals playoff win. So first time in your lifetime too, Luke, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, I was born in 91.
Yep, exactly. So hopefully the Broncos will be there next year. The one that scares me though, man, is Jimmy Garoppolo. I want no part of Jimmy Garoppolo.
No.
He is, for how limited he is with his arm talent and how accurate he is, he's one of the quarterbacks who put the ball in harm's way more than any other quarterback in the NFL. And he's also one of the quarterbacks who sees the heaviest rate of stacked boxes. He's one of the quarterbacks who has guys actually one-read offenses schemed open. So Jimmy Garoppolo, heck no. If let's say you have a Teddy Bridgewater kind of contract or a situation here where the Broncos give up a 6th-round pick and they're only paying Jimmy Garoppolo less than $5 million for one season. Okay, I didn't really want Teddy Bridgewater and his contract with the Panthers had. I was okay with him for that cheap, knowing that it was just a 1-year stopgap to bring a known quantity, an adult to the room that maybe you haven't had in the past. So I could see that, but Jimmy Garoppolo for $25 million against the cap with how bad he's been. That just, I mean, what are we doing here? Just sign me to play quarterback if you want to give away next season. That's what that is to me. I want no part of him.
Yeah, the 49ers are 9-6 with Jimmy's 15 games. 68.3 completion percentage, throws for a lot of yards, 3,810, but a lot of that, when you look at Kyle Shanahan's offenses, Yak is huge. The way that they can set up those receivers in space, 20 TDs to 12 picks. I think there's a lot of phantom numbers in there, guys. I really do. I'm not a huge Jimmy G guy either. I don't like the fact that he's 6'2". He gets a lot of batted footballs as well. He just doesn't have a sense of urgency to me. So no, I'm out on Jimmy G. I don't want Matt Ryan. I don't want any of that. I would rather them gamble and take a 2nd-round flyer, bring Teddy like a Malik Willis if he's there in the 2nd round, because every year, Nick, teams fall in love with guys and they reach really, really high. So don't be surprised if you see a Malik Willis start to climb. But I would be okay with Teddy as a quarterback coming back to Denver, I guess, on a fair deal, and then maybe going Malik Willis if you can't get Rodgers or Wilson.
I like all the top 6 quarterbacks in this class. I really do. I don't love any of them. I wouldn't spend the 9th overall pick on a single one of them. I don't know if I'd spend a top 20 pick on a single one of them. And man,
what if they trade not top 20? I was just gonna say, what if they trade down? Peyton likes to wheel and deal, right? Oh. What if he trades down and maybe you get a little bit more capital?
I'm interested then. I think a good money ball play at the quarterback position would be to trade down, take a calculated shot on a guy, and then add excess capital for 2023, where you are in a position to be aggressive again and either trade for a veteran quarterback that can upgrade the room or go for a first round pick. And I'm also not a proponent of, oh, you took a quarterback in the top 50. Let's cater to his every whim and need. We need to go out there and spend a top 5 money on a running back position and a top 5 deal on a guard position to make sure that we get a clean evaluation of that player. No. How about that player goes out there and earns the spot and be better?
No.
I am over the coddling for the young quarterback. Go out there and be great. Otherwise, I'm looking to move on, and I'm looking to upgrade the room. Biggest mistake for the Broncos in 2016 for trading up for Lynch wasn't in the practice of taking Lynch. Obviously, they probably should have known he was an idiot with the work that they're doing. But the biggest issue is that then you're stuck with him for 2 years. Broncos should have known right away. Paxton Lynch is an adult. You should have been in on the 2017 class for a Deshaun Watson, for a Patrick Mahomes. You should have been in on the 2018 class. Instead, we piddled 3 years down our legs because we made that investment in Paxton Lynch. Drew Lock, probably not it. Well, I'm going to leave that category for you guys to argue in the comment section. Let's just say probably not it. You then waste the last 2 years not adding to the room in the draft. What do we know about Lock? We know that he's a guy who makes mistakes, has accuracy issues, not the best at reading the full field, blah, blah, blah. You should have been adding to that room the whole time, making them compete for their spots. But here we are still wandering the desert with no real young, good investment on our hands.
7 picks in, I think it's 6 games or so for Jimmy Garoppolo. And you watch tomorrow when the Cowboys beat the Niners, which I think is going to happen in a close game, maybe some blown calls. I'm rooting for the Niners. Do not get me wrong. But Jimmy G is going to blow the game. After the game is blown in San Francisco, you're going to see the headlines. Trey Lance should have played that game. I agree. You fall in love with Trey Lance. You know he's just a little he's shy, right? In terms of being a young pup in the NFL, starting to feel himself a little bit. But these guys learn on the field, Nick. They don't learn in the film room. And I would really go with Trey Lance if I'm being call me crazy, but I would go with Trey Lance. You fall in love with the guy, you bring him in, you play him this year. He gets significant wins in games under his belt, losses under his belt. I mean, come on, man. Play the kid. But before I get mad and get on a Jimmy G, you got me all fired up on Jimmy G, because Jimmy G comes here, I will be so upset with George Payton. I'm not even going to be able to stand it.
Yeah. Yeah, we said 20 earlier. We got 20 coming in from Erwin Serrano. God bless you, Erwin. Thank you so much. We need to stop dreaming of getting Aaron or Wilson. So we can dream still. We're still in the dream phase, but you got to have yourself backup options for if the dream dies. That's a short-term solution. It doesn't guarantee a Super Bowl. Too many factors involved. We need to get our own homegrown franchise quarterback, period. You know what? I think I was with you there at the beginning, Erwin, but I don't follow you the rest of the way. It is a short-term solution, but windows in the NFL are so short in general and cyclical that if you have a chance to get a 3 to 5 year window, you shoot. You should shoot, especially with the Broncos the way they are. This isn't a team that is completely devoid of talent. Let's say the Broncos who's a team that's just absolutely not very good on both sides of the ball. God, sorry, Scott, the Falcons. Just want to tease Scott here. But the Falcons, very devoid of talent on the offense and the defense right now, outside of a few key playmakers. And then they're going to give up, multiple first-round picks to go out there and bring in an Aaron Rodgers. You're not set up for success then. That's not helping you. Broncos right now, they have enough pieces in place where they can probably weather the storm to give up multiple first-round picks and get a quarterback and go for that window. And guess what? We have to be looking for a quarterback again for the next after 4 years of Aaron Rodgers or 6 years of Russell Wilson, that means we just went 4 to 6 years without having to look for one, which is great because otherwise we're looking for one almost every single year after that. So ideally, yes, you want a Mahomes, you want a Herbert, you want that franchise quarterback for the next 10 to 15 years, but it's more important to give yourself a chance the next 5 years and then worry about what comes next after that window is closed. In my opinion. Thank you, Erwin. In my opinion.
Erwin, I appreciate the support, and I see what you're saying. Now, I disagree that we need to stop dreaming about Aaron Wilson or Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. Reason being, the Broncos, I don't think, would be interviewing the offensive staff of the Packers if they didn't want Aaron Rodgers. I'm just going to speculate that, but there's a little bit where there's smoke, there's fire. And I don't think Aaron Rodgers is committed long-term to the Green Bay Packers at all. I mean, just listen to any of his press conferences. When he's asked about it, he gives a little bit more of a PC answer. He's saying that things are cleaned up with him and Brian Gutekunst. I think I finally got that right after 9 months. But Don't be fooled, folks. I mean, the last dance, right? That's what Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers alluded to. Don't be surprised if Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams both want to leave, even if they just celebrated the second Super Bowl of Aaron Rodgers' career with the Green Bay Packers. It's a huge possibility. Also saw the odds, I think, are on Aaron Rodgers for already being a Super Bowl MVP favorite. So the Packers have got a good team. But to your point, I would say that at a certain point in the career of George Payton, we got to figure out if he can draft and develop a quarterback with a coaching staff in place. That's the key, because the thing is, we don't know if it's a for sure deal. But don't tell me to stop dreaming. It's all I've got. The Broncos aren't in the playoffs. I mean, 6 years, man. It's all I've got. Dreams.
Yeah, that's what we have right now. You got to hope for the best and prepare for the worst. Give yourself multiple avenues of success, and congratulations to the Raiders. Welcome. We saved you a seat on the couch here. Hopefully we can be saying the same to the Kansas City Chiefs, and let's wipe out that entire AFC West here going forward. And before we get on out of here, Luke, I got to ask you, we got a game tonight. I'm taking the Bills. Where are you at?
I'm going to go with the Patriots. I want the Bills to win. Do not get me wrong. I want the Bills to win, but I know it's going to be cold there and everything, but that damn Bill Belichick, Nick, I don't want him to win, but I just think he's going to have something for him. I think Josh McDaniels is going to coach a really good game. His name is Mud around here. I can't stand that man either, but I'm going to go Patriots and by a field goal. Let's say that. I don't have a score for you, but I'm going to go by a field goal. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be much better than the Raiders and the Bengals, Scott.
Yeah, I think it'll be a better game. I'm excited for this one. If the Bills can control the game enough and make Mac Jones play a drop back pass game, Bills are going to win this game. Mac Jones has been great when he's kind of like when Teddy Bridgewater, the Broncos are operating with a lead and they're running for 6 yards of carry and the defense is playing great. Hey, Teddy Bridgewater looks competent. You're down by 5 and Teddy Bridgewater has to be taking 5-7 step drops and executing reads on 3rd and 8. All of a sudden it doesn't look so good. And that's kind of what's going on with Mac Jones when I've seen him this year. So I think Mac Jones is fine. He's been a top 20-15 quarterback this season, which for a rookie is amazing. But I think that he is limited in the drop back pass game. And if the Bills can make him do that, he's going to lose. And the Patriots will lose this game. Kind of like remember the Colts game earlier this year around Christmas break, and the Colts were playing pretty good, getting the lead, and then all of a sudden Mac Jones is playing the drop back pass game, and balls are going to the Colts left and right. I feel like that's going to be like the Bills tonight.
It's going to be a good game either way. It's tough when you're in Broncos country, and I know a lot of us try to root for Buffalo with Josh Allen factor, and how can you not like that? But the coaching, I mean, man, there's so many storylines in this game. We have got to get you guys over to it. Nick, fun show, man. This head coaching search, we march on each day, possibly a new direction in the Broncos head coaching search.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Should be fun. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. Joining us early today on Mile High Insiders, an hour early, so we can get you guys off to watch that fun Bills Patriots game. You guys can find Luke on Twitter at Luke Patterson LP and myself at Nick Kendell MHH. Also, while you're there on Twitter, follow us at MHI_pod as well as at Mile High Huddle. If you guys like the gear, Luke's wearing the shirt, I'm wearing the hat. Make sure you head up over to huddleuppod.com to check out our gear, gators, mugs, cups. I mean, you name it. Scott's pointing the Broncos for Breakfast beanie there. So we got all the fun gear. It's a good time. Represent us, represent the Broncos by checking out our store there. If you are on Facebook, go to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. A lot of conversation there. If you think that I was way too tough on Jimmy Garoppolo in this conversation here, go out there. Let me have it. Tell me why I'm wrong, because this is a business where if you can defend your own opinion, I respect the heck out of you for it. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer a lot of times, a lot of shades of gray. So go out there at Luke and I on Facebook and Twitter, and let's continue this conversation. It doesn't just have to be on here. I've really appreciated all the people just even like reaching out in my DMs, asking draft questions or Broncos questions. So you guys are great. I'm here for you. I'd love to talk with you. Same with Luke. Travis coming in here. Great show, guys. Good night, and go Broncos. Go Bills as well. Also, guys, make sure you are liking, subscribing to this channel, Mile High Huddle, so you can click that bell notification when we go live, and you can join us. I know the regular season's over, but a lot of fun changes on the horizon for the Denver Broncos, and we're going to be here with you guys every step of the way to break it down and digest all these things, all this information, and what could be the dawning of a new era in Mile High.
I want a beanie, Chad. You heard it here on MHI. I want one of those Broncos for breakfast beanies, looking pretty fly. So it's cold here. And it's getting cold everywhere, right? So hook it up with some of the gear. Nick, great show, and go Broncos, go GM George Payton and company. Get us the right head coach. Y'all have a great night. Watch football. Go Broncos.